Okay, good luck. So let's carry on with our limud of Tzidkas HaTzaddik. We're up to Tes Vav. And we're learning here still the early Gemaras and Berachos, and Reb Tzadok is giving us a deeper perspective on the Shitas. And it's almost like training as to how a person can learn Gemara in a deeper way than sort of just simply reading the Shitas and understanding what they mean. But there's always depth. That we spoke Thursday night about the mezuzah thing, right? The get turns into a mezuzah, and the oimek there, right? So obviously there's a halachic principle always, but a person who is adept at understanding the world of Pnimius is just on a deeper level, is reading things in a deeper way, and that's where Reb Tzadok is sort of giving us a masterclass in some of these shitas. So he says like this. He begins with a headline, a general statement, and then he's going to back it up and prove this as he usually does with Mamar Chazal. And he says, mitzvah hu zechus la'adam. Person should be really, really aware that a mitzvah is a privilege. It's a merit. It's a huge, huge privilege to be able to do a mitzvah. Shenizdamim liyadai, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has gifted a person with the ability to get close to Hashem. We learned Thursday night also, we were speaking about Tfilas Mincha, right, from the Kedushas Levi. It's just because I just want to give something to Hashem for no reason. Shachris, we have to daven because we just woke up. Hashem gave us our neshama back. Mariv, we're entrusting our neshama to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mincha is called a gift because it's just the middle of the day. And there's nothing compelling me to daven other than the fact that I want to get close to Hashem. And we read from the Tzaddikim, from the Marinaim, from the Ramchal, that the essence of all of Yiddishkeit, the Lashon of the Ramchal, is Chayfetz Halev U'Tshukas HaNeshama. That's the essence of it. Really, really to get close to. I was just sitting with a Bach earlier. We were talking about mitzvahs and averos and like why these things are important. And I kept on pressing him, why is it important? Because, it says in the Torah. Okay, why is that? So what? Because it's what Hashem said. So what? And eventually he got to a point, he said, he said, after this we don't ask why. I said, no, I'm asking why. We can't ask why. I'm doing it. You could ask why. Why? And then we got him till, because it's about building a connection to Hashem. And the 365 loisases are 365 ways of getting close to Hashem by not doing certain things. And 248 mitzvos haseh are 248 ways of getting close to Hashem by doing certain things. That's it. That's it. Mamish. So much so that the Zohar Kadosh refers to the mitzvahs as not mitzvahs, taryag, atin, or itin de oraisa, which means pieces of advice. It's just invitations. Yeah, well, some of these invitations come along with the chiyuv kares and misas, nachon. It's because we have to have a framework that supports this system, but ultimately that's never the way that a person should view it, even if a person should happen to be living in a time, as just Hashem, where there will be a Sanhedrin and the halachas will be enforced. But I don't think it's Hashem's intention for a person to then keep Kol Torah Kula because they're afraid of getting punished. That's not the idea. Ani l'daidi v'daidi li. Hashem wants a legitimate relationship with us. This was Rabbi Nachman's teaching about his spodidus, about going out to speak to Hashem in your own words like you would to your best friend. Right? Why is that such a chiddush? It's such a novel idea because ordinarily, even if a person grew up hearing about the importance of building a relationship with Hashem, it's somewhat abstract. It's like, that's a metaphor for what I'm supposed to have with Hashem. And we consider it a relationship because He put His will into these mitzvahs. I do the mitzvah and I'm connected in some way. And I was explaining to this boy that all of the relationships that we have, relationship with parents, relationship with siblings, relationship with classmates, relationship with other people in the community, relationships, husbands and wives, all of those relationships only exist because these are reflective of different facets of our relationship with Hashem. So what that tells you is that the relationship with the essence of all relationships has to be at least as real and experiential as our relationship with our spouse and our relationship with our children, our parents, our friends. Because the only reason that there's such a thing in Mitzvah is called that, which is a face-to-face, panim-e-panim, conversational, legitimate relationship. Like not stam. It's not an acquaintance. It's a real bond. All of that is just an emerging energy out of the ultimate relationship was Ava Echad L'Kulana. Hashem is our Father. Ani l'doidi v'doidi li. The Kruvim looking at each other, like we said, face to face. And I think this was the Chiddush of Hisbodedus. I mean, there are a few elements of Chiddush and Hisbodedus, right? Not using a siddur, not using a tehillim, using your own words. But the idea that Hashem expects us to build a relationship with Him that isn't different than the relationships that we share with others in our lives. Adarabba, it's even more real. And that you can build you can come to know Hashem, and Hashem gets to know you. And there's like this exchange. So once a person thinks about a mitzvah in that way, mitzvos schus la'adam. That's a major schus. What a privilege to get to do a mitzvah. I was thinking, because mitzvahs are really unique to Klal Yisrael. Even the Muslims who have a lot of mitzvahs,
have halachas.
Halachas, right. It doesn't come, do you know why they do what they do? Because that's what Muhammad did. But not because in the Quran it's nitztava them to go to mikvah, right, which they do, by the way. Not the same halachas as our mikvahs, but it's all template, it's all copied out of, there's even some theories that Muhammad might have been Jewish, some Shocking
news.
Yeah, I don't think that's so historically well founded. Things like this. But that's not a mitzvah. They don't believe that Allah commanded them to,
filtering juice for them is a mitzvah.
Shave the mustache and grow a beard. They do that because that's what Muhammad did. It's not a mitzvah. Like Christians, I don't think any Christian feels that in going and buying a Christmas tree, they are being mekayim and davuk to the ratzon of the divine, however they conceive of that. There's no such thing in other religions as a mitzvah. So that means all of the other religions will totally lack the experience of coming up to Sukkot and going to Golders Green or wherever you should go to buy your lulav and esrog. Like, there's no concept like that in the other religions. You are davuk to the Aryan Sof. This is our guest.
No, I'm the guest. If not by him, I'm the guest.
Right? Davuk in the Aryan Sof. We have another sheet. Pass a sheet. We just started. Mamish, just still on the first line. We're talking about mitzvahs. Mitzvahs is connection. We're saying in other religions, there's things for them to do, but it's not a mitzvah. In doing it, they don't feel that they're bound up with the Ein Sof. So here he brings his raya, right? So that's just the first line. Okay? Mitzvah yischus la'adam shetizdam liyada. A mitzvah is a genuine privilege. Alavai, we should see mitzvahs this way. Kamei shekaso, as the Mishnah says very clearly, schar, mitzvah. The reward for the mitzvah, al pi pshat, this means, is the mitzvah itself. That is the schar, is the mitzvah. Right? And the Hasidim came and interpreted the second word mitzvah here to mean connection. And so the schar of the mitzvah is the connection that the mitzvah brings to a person who's conscious of it and develops themselves spiritually to be able to care about that and to feel that and to be aware of that. It's a fascinating source. It's a Tosefta in Peah Perek Gimel. It tells a story there about a chassid echad who was walking in the field and gathering up the stalks, and some shikha, he dropped some stalks. And he was so excited that he dropped some stalks that he quickly told his son to go take an animal and bring it for a carbon oila. To thank Hashem that now he's able to be mekayim the mitzvah shikha. And his son says, why are you bringing a mitzvah oila? It's a Tosefta Chazal. Why are you bringing a carbon oila for this and not for the tefillin you put on this morning? And he said, because all the other mitzvahs that we do it in our das. Meaning that we're the ones that are machriya. Right now I have tefillin and I'm putting the tefillin on. Shikha, because that happened beyond our planning, that means that Hashem loves us so much that He gave me the opportunity to do the mitzvah shikha. I have to bring an oila. Get this. Think about this. Usually we'd say, okay, I'm ready for my schar. We're rewarding Hashem. right? It's like we do the mitzvah and Hashem gets the schar, right? Because we love the mitzvah so much that who's talking to me about schar? I'm going to bring an oila to Hashem because I had the opportunity to do another mitzvah. Isn't that amazing? Fascinating Tosefta he brings.
Levi, this will be common language.
One day, we're working on it. But Oisashin is damen the yada mitzvah shikha and hevi oila. He brought an oila because he was so grateful to Hashem that Hashem helped him do the mitzvah of shikha. Ubesukkah and leidach on the other side. The Gemara in Sukkah Chav Chesam Beis. The Geshamim b'chag is Siminra, right? Famous Gemara that if it rains on Sukkot, I'm not sure if it really applies here because it's such a rainy climate, so it's not out of the ordinary. But in Eretz Yisrael, the Pashtus, right, if it starts raining so early when it's not seasonal, then it's not such a good sign. Right? Siman Ra and the mashal over there is a person whose master tells him to bring a cup of water, and he brings a cup of water and he hands it to him and he takes the water and throws it in his face. So he's bringing this as a raya to say that when a mitzvah is taken away from us, the Chazal say that's a person is
What I do? Oh,
no kick live view.
Yeah.
Front door and then the key. So then, what does this Gemara show? That the flip side is also true, right? And you understand it's the mirror image of the Tosefta we just learned, right? Because in the Tosefta, it was such a schus that he got a mitzvah, and you see that it's a huge insult if Hashem takes away a mitzvah. Chas v'shalom. And he brings the Chavis Halavavas Kasher Hashem Yisbarach Roitze Lishlach Doron Lo'i Havoi. If Hashem wants to send a person a present, Mezamen Lo'i Ani, he sends a poor person to knock at his front door. An ani that comes to a person's house is a gift min hashemayim, that a chas v'shalom a person should feel it's a tircha. It's a gift. It is a sign of a Kodesh Baruch Hu's ava for that person, that a Kodesh Baruch Hu was mazmin for that person in ani for the purpose of then being able to go ahead and to do a mitzvah. Because we're learning from Reb Tzadok, thanks for joining us, we're learning from Reb Tzadok that a mitzvah is a schus. A mitzvah is not an obligation that I have to do a mitzvah because now I have to do a mitzvah because kach katuv. A mitzvah is a huge privilege. Huge. A mitzvah is a huge privilege. Because a mitzvah is tzavsa, and schar mitzvah is the mitzvah itself. So much so that the chassid that we're learning about from the Tosefta, who nizdamen liyadai to do the mitzvah of shikha, shalai midas, he's so thankful that he goes and brings an ayla. And so this Chavis Halavavas is saying a similar thing. Kasher Hashem Yisbarach roitze l'shlach doiron lehavai. Hashem, in the third line from the top, Hashem wants to send a present to someone who is beloved to him. Mazman le'ani. He brings him an ani who needs tzedakah. In other words, Hashem gives us the opportunity to do a mitzvah, and that's the biggest sign from Hashem that He's got us in His sights. This is an expression of love. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Sefer Yashar from Rabbeinu Tam, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the source for the following thing, that the hepech is also true. If a person is about to do an aveira, and Hashem withholds that person from doing an aveira somehow, some way, that's the biggest expression of Ava. I believe that's Rabbeinu Tam. And that's a real thing. That's a real thing. It means we're always looking for, we call it Hashgacha Pratis. A person wants to feel Hashem in his life. These two things. And there are situations in life that are like this, where a person suddenly, you're just like the right guy in the right time, and like there's a mitzvah. You're the guy. Like you're the guy. You're the only one who can do it. Like that a person has to recognize. Most of us, in our consciousness, we think, okay, I have a new chiyuv. Oh, beautiful. Chiyuv to do a mitzvah. I get schar n'adamah. Here we're talking relationship. A person needs to feel in that moment overwhelmed with Ava. Overwhelmed with Ava. The people are so love-starved. We're so love-starved that we pretend like we don't need it. That's a symptom of how starved we are for it. That the only way that we can cope by not feeling loved is to say, oh, so you baby, no love. Mushy, happy clappy, neo Hasidic love. It's a defense mechanism. It's absolutely a defense mechanism. Because every human being needs it. Every human being needs it. I sat with a person today. Simple message for the person. Just reaffirming in that person's mind who thought that this life is over because of whatever things. Hashem adores you. How could he not? Hashem has all the angels in the world who are perfect. Hashem didn't create humans to be perfect. He created us to be imperfect and to care about that and to work on it and to strive and to grow. And there are tears coming out of this person's eyes. Why is he crying? Because we all want someone to tell us that. Because we all need to feel that. And so here we're being given by Reb Tzadok an opportunity to reflect on our own personal circumstances, both from the standpoint of mitzvos aseh. If Hashem is mizdamen to a person a mitzvah, you have to feel ahava. It's not a halachic thing. It's an emotional thing. And if a person is held back from doing an avera, oh my goodness, what an expression of love that is. Daika to a person who's mamish b'shas avera, that a person's about to look at something, and a crazy thing, all of a sudden there's an earthquake, Okay, there are probably millions of people who are about to look at something, Okay, and that person's own personal life, all of a sudden, I don't know, the internet shuts off. Could be. That's a huge matana. Not just a matana. That's, Hashem says, we're not doing this.
We're not giving up on you.
I haven't given up on you.
There's faith in you.
That's right. It's an unbelievable thing. So we have to know, otherwise we're not going to feel. The more we know, the more you feel. V'lachein, he says, therefore, mevarchin she'achiyanu al mitzvahs, mitzvah shekavu zman. That's why we make the Berachos she'achiyanu, because that's our carbon oila. Kiviyachal. The reason we make a shachiyanu is to thank Hashem for the opportunity to connect with Him. Otherwise, what's the inyan of shachiyanu? If a mitzvah is just a chiyuv, as by the way the Rishonim Chazal describe, right? The mitzvahs, there's a whole conversation about this. Mitzvahs lav le'hanas nitna gzeras hamelech. Right? It's a gzeras hamelech, right? So it's not for any reason that tamim. It's just because this is what the Melech said. Nachon. But I'm not making shechiyanu over Gzeras HaMelech. So do your business. As Hashem says to do, you do it. Shechiyanu, says Reb Tzadok, is meant to get us into this mindset. I'm about to shake lulav for the first time. I'm about to make kiddush on Shavuos night. There's a new Shechiyanu is supposed to anchor us into this consciousness to say it's not stam, I'm about to be mekayim a mitzvah and to fulfill an obligation. Thank you, Hashem, for this opportunity to connect to you. Not in some other world that I'll get schar olam haba, right here, right now. Schar mitzvah is the mitzvah. We're coming up now to Chanukah. What would it look like to feel this way? How many Jews, okay, again, not to say anything bad, what percentage of Yidden feel this way? Hopefully it's growing and growing and growing. But on a lesser level, it's a cultural thing. Okay, it's time, honey, it's time to candle lighting, gather the family around, light it, and off we go to the latkes and the presents and the Hanukkah parties, and we leave the candles burning there, and we abandon them. It's mamash a betrayal that people sit for 5 minutes by the candles, and then they leave the house. They don't even sit and wait. They're off they go. And I always have this image of the family pulling out of the driveway, and the candles are just like, what? You're leaving me here? We were supposed to celebrate together. Okay. Then there's a higher level where a person takes it seriously, but the consciousness is still one of obligation fulfillment. Take it seriously. Learn the halachas, but the whole inyan of Hasidus is the joy, is the feeling, is the gratitude, is the consciousness that Rebbeinu Shalom, I don't want schar for this mitzvah. Okay, give me schar, it's a bonus. My ikar schar is this, is what a privilege that I get to stand here. In the same way that my grandfather stood, and his grandfather before him, in the most unimaginable of circumstances, and I have the opportunity to be mekushar to the Jewish story. I have an opportunity to kindle your flame. And the Gemara says in Sukkah, and that Hilchos Chanukah, right, is at least lichatchila should be daika in a low place, lamata me'asar. in a place where the Shekhinah never descends. That's the whole inyan of lighting. I'm not going to go down to Hanukkah, but that's right. I mean, we'll have hopefully Achana shiur for Hanukkah, but that's the whole inyan of the Hanukkah neighbors. That even though v'timu kol hashmanim u'minoisar kankanim, that there's always that sealed jar, and to what a privilege. The schar mitzvah is the mitzvah. So v'lechem avarchem shachiyanu al mitzvah shekuvu azman. Okay, now he brings us back to the Gemara in Berachos. The Gemara in Berachos brings 3 different braisos that make reference to the same idea of the Kohanim, the Zman of the Kohanim eating their Truma, that being sort of a benchmark for when the Chiyuv of Kriyash Mashal Arves begins. Right? And the Tauna in the original Mishnah uses the word Mishashin Ichnasin, Kohanim Lechav Trumasam, but in Amud Beis there's a braiso that uses different terminology, even though it seems to be referring to the same thing, which is Zakain. And then there's another brayso that says mitoharin. And Reb Tzadok wants to focus, what are these 3 lashonos? So number 1 is al lashon zakayim le'echol b'truma, brachas beizim and beis. The lashon of the brayso is mishash zakayim le'echol b'truma. So what does this mean? So he says, "Da'achilas truma mitzvah gediyus psachim." The Gemara in Psachim darshans from a pasuk that not only the giving of truma is a mitzvah, the eating of the truma is mamash a mitzvah. So he says, if we're referring to a mitzvah, of course we're going to use the word zakain, because we just said that a mitzvah is a schus. That's what Chazal mean to tell us. Mishash zakain kohanim le'echel b'trumasa. That's how we refer. Is that you, Yehuda? So what a privilege, right? That's what it's referring to. There's a schus to do the mitzvah. Okay. But V'tana in our Mishnah says nichnasim. That's telling you something different. It's teaching us the kohanim zrizim v'zrizim akdime. You know, the kohanim are zrizim. They do everything super quickly. And zrizim akdim the mitzvahs. Therefore, the minute that they become pure, immediately. It's like that story from the Berditchever, who sat up the whole night waiting to shake lulav and esrog, and he was so excited when the first earliest alois, whatever it was, he can make a bracha. He shot his hands through the glass, and his talmidim found him dripping blood, all cut up because he was just not in the. He needed the lulav and esrog as soon as possible, and so he forgot that there's glass there, and he just shattered the whole glass. Right? That's the inyan of nichnasin. Nichnasim means they're already entering. The minute that it becomes possible for them to do the mitzvah, and again, you hear the way he's learning a Gemara. Everybody else learns the Gemara and is donning up the Zmanim, which Reb Tzadok was a goyin olam. Reb Tzadok was doing that too. Reb Tzadok is teaching us how to listen to what we would call in English the tenor of the words. Not just what the words say, but how the words are said. And to listen. There are messages. And that's what he sees in these shitas. It's halachic sugya, it's not nagadic sugya. Listen to the lashonos. It's teaching you about what it means to do a mitzvah. Number 1, zakayim le'echel. Person does a mitzvah, huge privilege. That's A. B, nichnasim le'echel. There's an inyan of nichnasim. V'teikef berega rishayna shemitoharim heim nechnasim shemiyad v'agia zman ha-mitzvah yaschil ha-knisa v'hachana l'mitzvah, where there's zrizin magdimin l'mitzvahs. Now, if you don't understand mitzvahs in this way, it's really hard to understand zrizin magdimin. Because if it's exeris ha-melech and I don't really feel anything about it, it's not likely that you can get a person to be mezuras in mitzvahs if they don't love the mitzvah or love Hashem. You can only guilt or shame or threaten a person ad kedei, but they're still schlepping their feet. Zrizos comes from simcha. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's a Mitzvos Sharm. One of the Sfarim teaches Zrizos. There's a Torah about that. Ein sav elaloshin ziras. Something to do with sav. Okay, there's a Torah about that. Yes, right. People who feel the zrizos in and of themselves because of the ava that they feel for the mitzvah.
Which means it doesn't help to be mizar as someone who just doesn't feel it.
Nachon.
You have to feel the thing.
That's right. The person has to feel that excitement, that passion. Right?
Otherwise it won't work for that mitzvah.
That's right. It won't work for that person because you can't force a person to care about something. But hopefully we're teaching us how to care. because it's all about love, and if it's a relationship, that's a tov alei. I want to feel that. That's my oxygen. I don't need to be schlepped to mincha. You have to schlep people to mincha because they don't want to go to mincha. So if they want it, then they want. So how do we make them want? Okay, we have to talk about what tefillah is, and the same goes for all the different mitzvahs. Va'agav orcha kamash malan detzarich knisa v'hachana l'mitzvah v'loy eichle miyad. And agav orche, even though on the one hand it's telling us nichnasim, but the word nichnasim, says Reb Tzadok, also connotes, even though it's interesting as he says nichnasim miyad, right? It's zrizos, but it's not a zrizos into the nikuda right away. It's a zrizos into the process of hachana, meaning nichnasim isn't doing it. Nichnasim means they're in zrizos to do the hachana. And it's a dual meaning, right? So nichnas tells you right away, as the earliest opportunity, they're ready to do the mitzvah. But also that readiness to do the mitzvah doesn't mean that you do the mitzvah right away. It means there's a period of hachana. The person has to prepare for the mitzvah. The tzaddikim, they would say the hachana for a mitzvah is greater than the mitzvah itself. The mitzvah itself you have to do. The hachana for the mitzvah, that shows the ava. Person came an hour, the Hasidim Rishonim, I think Reb Tzadok said, what did he say? They only needed an hour, right? Because they were Hasidim Rishonim. They only needed an hour.
Well, they were already there.
Right? They were already there. So no, just an hour. For us, hours and hours and hours. Rabbi Klein, the Gemara, Levai, Adam Mispal Kali Yom Kulei. But achana, there needs to be that inyan of achana. Manda Amar Mitayharin. Now the other Manda Amar they use as a lashon of Mitayharin. Yeshleimar, see, he says like this: the Taisus Dibra Maskal Misha. Taisus Hikshu asks a question on the inyan of aniyim that are nichnas la'echol, their evening meal. And Taisus asks a simple question. We know that once the zman of Kriya Shema comes in, you're not allowed to eat. Is that what kind of haunted building is this? What's
the building is stretching.
I don't know, it's from downstairs.
It's the earthquake I spoke about. What's happening?
Yeah.
We're safe, Yehuda. He's in charge of all the things in the building. Yehuda.
It's a sound from downstairs, the second
Okay,
floor.
so Taisus asks, how could you equate the zman of Kriya Shema Shel Arvis with Tefillah Arvis at the time that the aniyim would go in to eat their meal? How did they eat their meal? Meaning, if that's the same zman, then they couldn't eat their meal. So, and Taisus asks this question. They would have to say Kriya Shema, right? How does Taisus answer? Taisus answers with the principle that Reb Tzadok just said, which is that it doesn't say that they ate. It says Mishash Nechnasim. Nechnasim says Taisus means they were mechin. They began to prepare their evening meal. While their evening meal was being prepared, they said Kriya Shema, they daven Mar. Okay. So he's bringing the principle from Taisus there. Okay. So we see from Taisus that Nichnas is Hainu Hachana. Kenis Galel. Like we said, the word nichnas mentions hachana. Ubishas knisa yikra. That's what Taisus answered. When they were in the shas of knisa toward their meal, then yikra they would read Kriya Shema. V'hai manda amar, with the other manda amar soiver, the ein panai b'shas knisa l'kabelas alma chashmai v'tefila. So why isn't that okay? Why isn't that this man for Kriya Shema? So he says it's not because it's not enough time. There's not enough time for the hachana because he holds nechnasim means that even Kriya Shema needs hachana. Not that while you're preparing for your meal you mutter Kriya Shema. Kriya Shema daika needs hachana. So you can't say that that's the zman. No, mishash nechnasim kayanim le'achal b'trumasam. That because it's teaching you that it's nechnasim over there. It's talking about the mitzvah, right? So there it's a reference to the mitzvah of Kriya Shema, which is the same zman. It needed hachana. It was ba'i hachana. It's not, you just need a little bit of achana. It needs more. Inami, or you can say, you could also say that Manda Amar held that the reason that that's not the right zman, which according to Taisus would mean that they quickly mutter, the flip. The reason that we didn't hold the zman of the mishash and kayhanim nechnasim lechal b'trumasam is because Kriya Shema al malchus shemaim is not the hachana you need for truma. Meaning, at that time we said they are preparing to eat truma. And if you're telling me that at that time they need to say Kabbalas al-Malchus Shemayim, it's a slightly different thing. That's a different nekuda. There's another reason why that zman wouldn't be the right zman. Rak mitzvah ba'apei nafshei, right? L'kuli alma mitayharim.
So what's he saying? He says that Mandalam Mitzuharim, it's a different time, or it's a different Loshen?
So I think, no, it's a different zman.
So in the Gemara itself, it's a different Shitta. It's not the Bryce is calling it the same one.
Nachon. Right. There's Zakaim, Nechnasim, and Mitoharim. So it's a different Shita. The Tana done, but our Tana in the Mishnah, the Kaim Alikava say that it holds Taka, it is Mishasha Kam Nechnasim La'achavichumasam. Savar, he holds yes. Kabbalas al-Malchus Shemayim Tefillah hu atzmai ha'achana umi inyana. Kriya Shema and davening is the hachana for everything. That is the hachana for everything. Every mitzvah, the bechina of Kriya Shema and Tefillah. What are these miramis to? V'hachana kazu tzarech lifnei ha-mitzvos. Two things. Number one, sheyakabel of koidem is al-Malchus Shemayim ben nister, dainu Kriya Shema. First thing is you enter in to Kabbalas al-Malchus Shemayim nister. Why is it called nister? Because you're not talking to Hashem, you're talking about Hashem, and you're right. That's Yahavta, etc. Shema Yisrael, Baruch Shem. It's not directed to Hashem. It's about Hashem. That's called Lashon Nister. And then Tefillah, where it's Baruch Ata. These two elements are hachana for every mitzvah in the Torah, where a person realizes two things. First and foremost, there's a realm in which Hashem is hidden, and I live in that realm. And I can refer to Hashem as Lashon Nister. What I'm about to do with this mitzvah is to flip the Nister into the Noichach. That is hachana for every mitzvah. Why? Because that's what a mitzvah does. A mitzvah means I open up a portal in Sifrei Pnimi, Sifrei Chasidus, Sifrei Kabbalah. This is called Yichud Kudsha B'Richu Shchintei. That's what every mitzvah is for. L'shem yichud kudsha b'richu shchintei. And the we've been learning now, right, that Shechina is the hidden, latent godliness in our reality here, and kudsha b'richu is Hashem, right? Is the transcendent element, godliness as godliness, so to speak, in and of itself. And usually there's a huge gap between these two things. This world is experienced as just an olam hateva, and maybe somewhere up there is spirituality. A mitzvah opens a portal. Like I said, lahavdal elf avdalas, no buying of, it doesn't matter how large and machmir a person is on their Christmas tree. It's not a mitzvah. It doesn't open a portal because it wasn't mitzuvah. That's the point. We are right. I think one of the maybe it was one of the writers said, the great philosopher, I think, therefore I am. A Jew says, I am commanded, therefore I am. I live in a state, I am mitzuvah. Gadol mitzuvah va'iseh. I am mitzuvah. And therefore, because I am mitzuvah, the mitzvah that I'm doing, and here I'm saying a slightly different taich, isn't pshat only that it connects me to Hashem. That's normally how we understand mitzvah. It means tzavsa, it's connection, not just commandment, not just tzivoy. Aramaic, it means it's a connection. And so that's usually the way we think about it. But now I'm saying, because I am mitzuvah from that realm of kudsha b'richu, from that transcendent realm, and I here in the Olam HaGashmi am doing a maisa as a result of having been commanded from above, I am creating tzavsa. Can't find the right grammatical formulation of that. I am being mitzaveh. I am.
It says we say v'tzivonu.
V'tzivonu, right. I am right now connecting these two realities. Because if that reality didn't exist, I'm not putting pieces of cow on my arm and on my head every morning. I have better things to do with my time. I'm not strapping straps, and I'm wearing fringes. And that's why the mitzvahs are called, it's called edus, right? Atem Hashem. The Yaris Tavash, I think we learned in a previous teaching, called the Tefillin Shal Reish and Tefillin Shal Yad, the choisam of the Melech. Just like an Evet carries like an emblem. I said that recently, right? I think it was in the shiur, carries an emblem. This is how it is. Tzitzis, tefillin, bayis, right? That's it. This is the chaysa. A person carries edus, that there is a realm from which I was commanded. Every mitzvah opens that portal. That's called l'shem yichud kutchebrichu u'shchinte. And all of a sudden the whole world changes, like the Gemara tells us in Kedushin. Every person needs to see it, that they are the machriya. Every maisa that a person does, it makes a genuine impact on the spiritual status of reality. And that's what the Baal Tanya says. Yaakov chevel nachalasa. He says the Baal Tanya, all of Klal Yisrael are one rope. That rope is mikasher the elyonim and the tachtonim. Yaakov chevel nachalasa. And each rope, every rope is twisted cords, and each cord contains smaller fibers. Each one of those is microfibers. And every time that one of us does a mitzvah or stays away from an avera, that opens up one of those channels. And we're learning in Torah Lamed in Likutei Moharan about the sa'ares, right, which are pipelines, right? The mitzvahs mamish are pipelines, and we have to realize that I'm opening up a portal. By the way, I'm not getting into the whole thing with the parshas now, but this has to do with the whole sugya of the wells. Avram digs a well, and the Pelishtim come and they stuff up the well. Yitzchak redigs the well. Take a look at the Sfas Emes there. In every year, there's like a big sugya in Sfas Emes.
And then Yaakov picks up the stone from a well.
The whole Indian of what it means to be a Jew is to be a well digger, which means to clear away that artzius that is apparent on the surface, so that from the source, which a well means down, but in Panemius everything is flipped, alamavach, right? From the source can come forth Mayim Chaim. That's what Avram and Yitzchak were. That's what it means to be a Yid, is to be a well digger. That's what the mitzvahs are for. What an upgrade in consciousness. I mean, what an upgrade. Think about that, klape, the standard prevailing attitudes of, I do a mitzvah, I get schar, I become a big tzaddik. Like, it's a whole different universe. It's like, it's not even the same book. It's mamish like on a different bookshelf. It's like, it's not even close. Yeah, it looks the same, but imagine a person comes with this consciousness that we're learning just from 5 lines in Reb Tzadok. This is not a whole theology. This is just one piece. Think about what we've learned. A mitzvah is a schus. A person should feel gratitude at the opportunity to do a mitzvah because it shows how much Hashem loves them. We say shehachiyanu to express that. A mitzvah requires zrizos out of simcha. It requires hachana yishav hadas. And now we're learning that ultimately the preparation for every mitzvah is the realization that I'm about to turn the Kriya Shema, talking about Hashem, into tefillah. I'm about to come panim el panim, apen ba'apen, like it says in the Zohar Kadosh, face to face with my Creator. And that's true for every single mitzvah. So he says, according to that Manda Amar, yeah, Kriya Shema and tefillah is the hachana for eating truma. Ma kesher, because truma is a mitzvah. And the same would be true for tefillin and tzitzis and shaking lulav and eating matzah and marar and halvayas hameis and everything else in the world. Everything. Because that's what a mitzvah is the journey from nister to noichach. That's Kriya Shema to tefillah.
You were speaking about it on Friday, because you were saying that to the Eini Arachem Salasmachas Esponecha, that there's part of you bringing it back lifnei.
That's
bring
right.
back to be not to be close to Hashem, but to be in front of Hashem.
I'll tell you, once you mention that, I'll tell you a teaching for the Baal Tanya. Baal Tanya Sabam Kasha, it's in Likutei Torah, I believe. The Tanya says, how you talking that a person can ever do tshuva? Tshuva means to return, but we know that Halayas Hashemayim V'Zaaretz Ani Malei. Hashem fills heaven and earth. Loi Chala Arts Kavaydai, Memalek Almin, Les Asar Panim Minei, all these sources. Hashem is everywhere. So what do you mean you went away from Hashem and you're coming back to Hashem? It says the Baal Tanya, and again it's a tzad dimyon, it's a mashal, because if you're taking it literally, this wouldn't either work, but it's a metaphor. He says there is a way of being close in proximity to something, but being extremely distant from it. How? He said, imagine a husband and wife that are physically close, but they won't look each other in the face. Are they close? Yeah, I mean they're present with each other in the same space, but they're so far away. Reb Tzadok says returning to Hashem in tshuva doesn't mean somehow clawing your way back into proximity with Hashem. Hashem is everywhere, always. Hashem is. That all of this is an outgrowth of Hashem. Okay. Tshuva simply means to turn around. I've said this before in shiur, but when I lived in Yerushalayim, I used to get up really early in the morning to write. That was my time for writing. Quiet, yishuv hadas. And I used to sit in the dining room table. We had this was the key feature of the apartment. I didn't even see any of the other apartments. I saw this. I said, we're in. And these huge windows, overlooking beautiful hills, and it was on the edge of Ramat Eshkol. So what's that other mountain over there? Ramat Shlomo. Yeah, you know the view I'm talking about, right? With the forest in between, that Gewalt. And I used to sit over there and watch the sunrise. And the way that the buildings are angled over there, as the sun rose, one side of all the buildings just glowing like it looked like on fire. Every single morning this is. And the other side of the building, the next angle, dark. This side is shining, that side dark. And it used to strike me that this is really the whole goal of Yiddishkeit. Hashem's light is shining. Our job is just to turn ourselves to the right angle so that we can face the light. We don't need to earn the light. We don't need to figure out how to get the light. We don't need to figure where the light switch is. The light is shining. Tamid, tamid, tamid. Re'ei anoichi noisen lefnechem hayoim, says the Berditchever in his drashas to Rosh Hashanah. Hayoim, like sunlight. Not today, I'm putting in front. Re'ei anoichi noisen lefnechem hayoim. Hashem says, I am giving you yoim. I'm giving you sunlight. But anoichi noisen lefnechem bracha u'klala. You'll decide, are you turned toward the sun, or you're turning away? It's the Kedushas Levi. Hashem says, from me, me'iti lo seitzei arois v'atov. Hashem says, I'm here. It's up to us whether we're facing it or not. And this is a metaphor, because you just mentioned it, for the mitzvahs that we do. It's up to us what we want our mitzvahs to be. And again, like the tzaddikim say, you will literally go up after 120, and you will get schar for every mitzvah you did, even if you never cared about it, never thought about it. I mean, the whole Nefesh HaChaim is written for this, right? Paradoxically, Nefesh HaChaim, which is like the anti-Hasidic, sort of misnagdic sefer, is so deeply Hasidish because it's the whole sefer is being malamed schus on even Yidden who have no kavana. It's still, don't denigrate their mitzvahs. It's such a deep thing. The whole sefer Nefesh HaChaim is to tell us that even if you have no kavana, and yet, I identified, I think, 23 places throughout the sefer where he makes it very clear that Avadi's not advocating for no kavana. That's what it became. So these Hasidim so into kavana. Then Nefesh HaChaim says, Chas v'shalom. The whole sefer is full of him saying, the more kavanah you have, the more you're opening the gates, and the deeper the riboy bracha that you're channeling down. Avada, everybody knows that, right? I mean, they called him the Goyin Chassid from Vilna, right? So obviously, he was already a Chassid. So obviously, you need to have kavanah. Obviously, goes without saying. The schar and olam haba will get. But what about the Gan Eden in this world? They say over from the tzaddikim, there was somebody who went up to the Olam Yonim, and he saw Gan Eden, and it was just a room like this with wooden table, benches, and the Tanaim and Amoraim are sitting there learning. And he said, that's it? This is the Tanaim and Amoraim are in Gan Eden? This is the whole thing? And the Malach that was a Mamuna on that place said, no. He said the Tanaim and Amoraim are not in Gan Eden. Gan Eden is in the Tanaim and Amoraim. It's in here. That means to say you can have it here. It's ours to take. We're gonna light Hanukkah nairs in 29 days now. It's up to us what we want that to be. If a person does this hachana that we're talking about and contemplates these inyanim and builds a robust relationship with Hashem, where every mitzvah is an opportunity to come panim b'panim with literally our Creator, like literally who created us, v'koine akal, to whom we belong. We belong to someone. We're His, right? So then you have Gan Eden in you. Then it's not about schar in the next world. It's schar in this world. Schar mitzvah is the mitzvah, is the tzavsa. So he finishes, and we'll finish with this for tonight. V'zeu habracha shalifnei achila shuhu noichach minister. This, he says, is the inyan of the bracha before we eat, that moves in the opposite direction from noichach to nister. Umascheles b'noichach shigam levracha tzarech hachana. It begins with noichach because the bracha itself is a mitzvah. So tzarech hachana shigam hu nasa mitzvah derabanan, because the mitzvah, right, making a bracha is already a mitzvah. Kivin sheyoytze lif'al b'dibur, because now you're bringing it into being. And so with a bracha, the minute that you make the bracha, you're already being mekayim a mitzvah. So with a bracha, it starts with noichach, barachata. I mean, you're already there, because the minute that you make a bracha, you're already doing the mitzvah. So there's no time. You can't. So you have to be meichin. Now again, most people think a bracha is hachana for the eating, the kedusha. He says you need to do hachana for the bracha. Right, raise your hand. Has anybody ever done hachana for a bracha?
That's not taking the fruit and looking at it. That's the hachana, right?
Right, meaning a person should be holding the fruit. Why is that? By the way, real halacha has a tam. Right? Why is that the halacha that it has to be you're holding it, like on your right hand, right? If you can, it's because you're right. It's the hachana for the chashivas. It's a chayfetz in a certain sense, but also because it's not in the abstract as an apple sitting on the table. It's you hold it up close. You feel the feeling. A banana should blow your mind. A banana is mamish. It's divine technology. It's an incredible thing. Think of it. Until the banana is yellow, Hashem is sending you the message. This is Rav Avigdor Miller stuff, Shar Bechina. Don't peel it, it's not ready. And then Hashem puts a peel to protect this fruit that's growing inside of it. And it's not like messy to peel. It's super neat. You just pinch the top, open it up, peel this one down, that one down, that one down. I mean, you couldn't have designed this better. It's Mavil al Arayan. Some people even on a minute. I heard someone who knows about banana peeling told me that you're actually supposed to peel a banana the other way, and then you can use the stem as a handle. So you mamish, and that's the way that I've been opening bananas for years and years and years. So this is all I know.
That's how the monkeys do it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't know. Anyway, not saying anything about this person, but this is what this person, he knew a lot about this Indian. Parenthetically, I'll just tell you a really weird story. Years and years and years ago, I was walking in Beis Yisrael right outside the yeshiva where I was in, which was called Shari Tivuna, right next to the Mir. And probably wasn't the nicest thought to have. It was years ago. I've gotten a little bit nicer since then. Not that much nicer, but a little bit. And I'm looking at this person standing outside the Mir Yeshiva, and I'm thinking to myself, this person looks like a monkey. But he mamish looked like a monkey. Not like a little bit like a monkey. Like, he mamish had the features of an actual monkey. And all of a sudden, I can't make this stuff up. I wrote this down because it was so shocking. He pulls a banana. And that minute, he pulled a banana out of his pocket. It was just like, oh my gosh, like this is... Anyway, it's a meaningless story. But bananas, why are we talking about bananas? Right, because holding it means you make a bracha on the experience, the gratitude. So yeah, a bracha should have hachana. But once you do the bracha, noichach, boom, you're meeting Hashem. So the bracha begins, because the minute you say baruch ata, and then you're finishing the bracha, it switches to nister. Shegam hu nasa mitzvah d'Rabbanan, given sheyotze l'fal b'dibor, v'ayin oid ma shekasa b'zeh, b'kuntris, he has a kuntris called Esa Eichel, where he speaks over there about mesinos. I think that you quote on the eating thing from that sefer? You had an eating about, from Tzadok about eating slowly. Okay, but that's what he says there in Kuntras Esa Achal. Maybe he got it from Reb Tzadok about eating slowly, right? And usually a person can tell by how quick the bracha is what their consciousness while eating will be, because it means a person is lahavt and a person's just. But if a person takes time, and even before they forget about making the bracha slowly, don't make the bracha yet. It's okay. So you can hold the food in your hand, not make a bracha. Just hold it, sit in front of a plate full of delicious food. Take a deep breath.
Why do you have to eat it afterwards? If you're holding it and you're admiring it, doing all the achonas, and then you make the bracha.
Right.
Why do you still need to eat it?
We don't make a bracha just on mare. Right? Because it's food.
That's the way it was created.
That's the way. The same thing with besamim. It's not just to analyze it, you have to smell it.
No, but you're saying, really, the fruit has been presented to you.
Well, listen. The bracha that we make on Eish is we're bevarch achi usalai. That's why it's halachically what a person should do. It's a bit complicated. It's all sugya, but basically, when I learned through the sugya, what came out halachically is that a person should, because you have to make the bracha ala kois, but you also cannot make the bracha until you're benefiting from it. So what you do essentially is that you hold the chayfetz of the mitzvah, which is the Havdalah candle, in your right hand, but you're still holding the cup of grape juice or wine in your left hand. And then halfway through the bracha, you put down the kais, you switch the Havdalah candle to your left hand, and you begin to move your hand close to it. Then you make the bracha Baruch Ma'ariah Eish. So you are making a bracha on Eish. That's the way you appreciate light, is that you benefit from light. But a food that you have to eat, that's not achila. Okay, so that's this teaching. But Chevra, honestly, what a teaching, right? This is just one paragraph. There are like 400 and whatever, many paragraphs in the Sefer, but this one paragraph is really a masterclass on what our perspective on mitzvahs should be.
The Shechianu is the Hachana as well, right? That's what he's saying in the beginning.
Interesting. You're saying before the bracha. Mm. Usually you make Shechianu after the bracha, no? You make the Hagafen, then you make Shechianu. Right, it's the second bracha you make.
Yeah, it's Zmanim also. Yeah. So, but he's still such a...
No, the Shechianu he was just bringing in to underscore the point of the schus that the mitzvah is, and how much gratitude we should feel and how excited we should feel. That's why we make that. Here he's saying something slightly different, that because making a bracha is already a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, the bracha itself, even though it's instituted as a hachana for eating, needs a hachana. Because once you start the bracha, you're already in. That's Baruch.
But in today's daf,
yeah.
Gemara says that if Chama throwing missiles at you, the Kohanim should run nichnas into the Mikdash and eat kosher. I was thinking, why are they running in like nichnas and then eat kosher? Just go eat kosher anyway. So maybe this is part of it.
Right, you're saying it's daika stressing nichnasen. Right, that's how you eat kosher. Is with like Taisa says, with the hachana. Straight up. What a privilege. Today's a schut. Good. A good way to start the week. Yeshua Chaim, thanks for joining. Ani habe vi'ata ha'av shali shekol kach ohev oti ha'av shali melech chai v'kayam al kol neshima she'ani